we have an awesome fight, and I don't think I'm overselling it. Light heavyweight between short fuse Ed Herman and slow Mike Rodriguez. And there was an interesting fight that was originally supposed to take place not that long ago between Ed Herman and Gerald Meerschaert. We get excited for it. We both picked Ed Herman to beat Gerald Meerschaert, and at the time, Herman was a plus 200 underdog or thereabouts. So if you want to go back and watch that video, we give you a pretty good account of both of those guys. Now, that fight was canceled in the 11th hour. Gerald Meerschaert out due to COVID or a positive COVID test. And then Ed Herman said, screw it. I'm going to have a couple of whirly pops. And he got the call from McMaynard. Hey, oh, by the way, Kevin Holland's supposed to fight Trevin Giles on this card. Giles faints backstage, and we talk 11th hour. That was as he was supposed to make the walk. Yeah. So they made the call and said, Ed Herman, you want to fight? And he said, nah, screw it, bud. I had a couple drinks. I'm having a good time. So they rebook Herman for this card. He was supposed to take on Gerald Meerschaert again. That didn't happen. He was supposed to take on John Allen from down in Brazil. Different spelling of the Allen last name, Matt. John Allen forced out due to visa issues. So in steps slow Mike Rodriguez. And we saw Mike Rodriguez just weeks ago taking on the Polish, I wanted to say superstar, but I'm going to settle on finisher, Marcin Prachniow. And Matt, Mike Rodriguez looked great in that fight. He really did give a good account of himself. If you look at his overall body of work in the UFC, it's been so-so. I mean, he had a good win on Contender Series the first season, 2017, loses to Devin Clark, beats Adam Milstead, loses to John Allen, who we just mentioned quite badly. It was overturned to a no contest due to John Allen. And then you have a loss to Dan Jung where he got finished. And then he beats Prachniow, who, by the way, did not look good in the UFC. I have to say that. And Marcin Prachniow, he was one of those guys in one championship that was finishing guys. And then he came into the UFC and lost 3 straight by finish. And took a long layoff between his last loss and then his loss to Mike Rodriguez. Not to take too much away from Rodriguez, but that's just where I want to slow the roll. If you look over on the other side for Ed Herman, Matt, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but if we go back to his last 3 fights, he should have beat Jean Vellante, lost by split decision in Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. I was there. Fight Night Picks covered that one. Then he beat Pat Cummins. Surprisingly, finished him in the first round. Nice, and then he beat Russia's Hadis Ibrahimov. So Ed Herman could realistically be on a 3-fight win streak, which you'd think, hey, this is a guy that won on The Ultimate Fighter Season 3 at middleweight. He's been around for a long time, 39 years old. And the one thing I want to say about Ed Herman, win or lose, this guy's consistent.
Oh, yeah, because Ed Herman, you know what you're going to get. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now. Ed Herman, for me, is like Matt Brown at 170. No, he's not going to beat the top-level guys if you match him up with them, but he's going to give them a hard fight no matter what. And I think Ed Herman's in that same boat. Because you see Matt Brown, he got TKO'd in his last couple of fights, but he's still giving these really top-level prospects hard fights and really putting it on them at some moments. Ed Herman's in the same boat because Ed Herman, you know what you're going to get. He's going to move forward. He's going to eat shots like there's no tomorrow. And he's going to land for every shot he takes. It's not one of those bad ratios like we speak about with like a Brock Weaver where they're eating more shots than they're giving. Ed Herman's around a 1-to-1 because every single time in his fights, you can see he's going to move forward and he's going to eat some heavy shots. But normally he can just kind of withstand whatever he's being given. Keep on moving forward. Really put that nice pressure on that we sort of know him for. The weird thing about Ed Herman at this stage of his career is at 39, you don't really know what you're going to get. And cardio is such a big part of his game because what Ed Herman's known for is he's not going to go out there and blast you with one shot and put you down. He's going to hit you. 2K12 has my favorite sports quote of all time in NBA because Doris Burke says Dwayne Casey once put a boulder in the Raptors locker room and he said that it's a story about Noel Mason who couldn't break the rock in one hit, but after 1,000 hits, that rock's going to break. And it became a motto for the Raptors that year, pound the rock. Ed Herman has a pound the rock style of MMA because he's going to go forward. He's going to slowly break you down over time. And he's really going to rely on that volume and consistency to get himself the win. Mike Rodriguez is an interesting, really puzzle to solve for Ed Herman because Mike Rodriguez, he's that fights a little bit like OSP. He'll wait, throw a big shot. Wait, throw a big shot. Now, if he can time you right, he does have quite a bit of power behind it. But the issue is he'll wait for a while. He doesn't download the information at a clip similar to an Alexander Volkanovski, where with Volkanovski, it's okay, you do this. I know, I can tell that technique from a mile away from this point on, and he's constantly learning and changing. Mike Rodriguez, it takes him a little bit longer to get those reads on his opponent, and that's really where Ed Herman can find the majority of his success. If he can start pushing Mike Rodriguez back, if he can get him uncomfortable and get his back against the cage, he's not going to be able to really plant his feet and get a lot of power off as Ed Herman moves in, and I think that'll be an issue for Mike Rodriguez the longer the fight goes.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Rodriguez, definitely you have to worry about the power that you're getting back. And the same thing with an OSP or, geez, I mean, go through the list. We can talk about guys like Will Chope. We can talk about the Cole Millers. The longer fighters in these divisions, you really have to worry about a lot of different things. Is it distance? Is it power? If you have the distance and power and you can put those things together, you can pose a lot of problems. So Mike Rodriguez can definitely be an issue for a lot of guys at 205 pounds. You look at the difference in the height and reach. I mean, Mike Rodriguez, 5.5 inches of reach. You get about, 2.5 of height. It's one of the things that you definitely have to worry about. Ed Herman, though, can usually close distance, and that's where he finds a lot of success. So Mike Rodriguez, it might be an issue there. If you look over at the picks on Tapology at a 385, 75% going with Rodriguez, 78% saying he's going to win by knockout. Ed Herman, if you look at his record, the last time he was knocked out was by Nikita Krylov, his first time in the UFC for Krylov. Back in 2016, he lost a decision to CB Dollaway, lost a split to Jean Vellante, like we said. I mean, take that for what it's worth. He lost, but And then if you look at the odds, this is where I kind of scratch my head a little bit because, again, Ed Herman comes in a plus 145 at open, now around a plus 210. Mike Rodriguez open a minus 170, now at a minus 260. I like where the odds were at when they opened. I like them even more where they're at right now because, again, I like Ed Herman in this fight. I might be alone on Ed Herman Island.
Oh, don't worry.
It might be me and that well casing that he dropped on his finger where he pretty well lost it for just a sec. Go back and watch that if you want to see something gross. But I think Ed Herman, pressure and volume, where he's at in his career, he's no longer a middleweight. He doesn't have to worry as much about the weight cut. And I get it. He lost to CB Dollaway at 205, whatever. Or it's not CB Dollaway at 205. That's not who I want to go with. Nikita Krylov, he got finished at 205. That was years ago. So I think Ed Herman, multiple paths to victory. Again, would I be surprised if Mike Rodriguez went in there and just chopped the block off in the first round? No. But I think if this fight goes into the second and third rounds, it ultimately favors Ed Herman. It's not so much kind of like we said, the Pedro Munoz taking on Frank Yeager, where it's a 5-round fight. It's going to really favor Frank Yeager.
Oh, it's not going to be nearly as good as that fight.
No. But I do think that Ed Herman's going to win in this one. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me based on the odds and those predictions over on Tapology. But I really want to know what people are picking in this one.
So I'm going to agree with you on this. I'm going to pick the underdog in Ed Herman because stylistically, Mike Rodriguez doesn't really pose a lot of threats that other opponents in Ed Herman's career haven't. Because Mike Rodriguez, he's a low-volume power puncher. That's something Ed Herman's dealt with many times before, and I'm sure he'll deal with it in the future, even after he retires, probably. I think Ed Herman has a huge cardio advantage. And like you said, as long as this fight goes past the first 3 minutes, I'd say power would probably start to become even after that point because Mike Rodriguez, he doesn't completely hit a wall, but it's just that Ed Herman's cardio, or his output, never really changes from the second the fight begins till it ends. And I think that pressure is really going to get to Rodriguez as the fight goes on. So I see this as a clear-cut unanimous decision for Ed Herman. Should be a phenomenal fight, though.
Matt, the last time we went with an underdog like this, it was Joel Alvarez against Joe Duffy. So who knows what could happen, but we're both going with Ed Herman. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Regardless of the outcome, it should be a good one. Let us know who you're predicting. Make sure you check out the rest of the playlist. We've got an extended look at our main event between Michelle Waterson and Angela Hill. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. And as we always say, let's get into it.